Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Our Life. Last time we grew up with Cole, and today are we gonna go on a birthday party with him? Summer work? Escapade? Summer work. Then maybe mall? I don't know. We'll think about it. It's summer work first. You stared out the window, watching the scenery pass by as your mom drove down the quiet streets at a leisurely pace. A singer crooned sweetly from the radio, turned low enough that you could block it out if you wanted. You turned away from the window and your mom suddenly spoke up. Well, kids, are you excited to go to the library? No. No. Sorry to hear that, kiddo, but I hope you get some work done. You lean back in your seat, staring up at the ceiling. You'd rather be doing just about anything else right now. Why do we have to go to the library? We can work at home. You hadn't liked going when you were a kid, and you didn't like going now.
So?
What about you, Cove? You're part of the conversation, too. I can work better there than at home. It's good we're going. I think. Cove, back me up.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm happy this will be of use to you. Just make sure not to be distracted by one another. That would defeat the purpose of the trip. Too bad, Mom. We're going to the bathrooms and we're gonna have a lot of fun together. You'll see. I'm gonna get loaded up. She grinned over at you briefly, so you knew she was kidding and meant nothing by it. Well, she doesn't know what's gonna happen. Mom refocused on driving, humming along with the radio under her breath. You went back to staring outside. As you passed one street, you caught a glimpse of someone in brightly colored clothing passing out balloon animals. It sparked a faraway memory, and you felt your lips twitch up before consciously remembering why. How long ago was it that you and Cove watched the amazing Alexander performing magic tricks? Cove? Look at the guy. Cove turned his head just a second too late. Who? It doesn't matter. Do you remember the amazing Alexander? Who? He gave us dolphin balloons. Yours popped. You cried. It was a big day. Oh, right. That was a while ago. It was so fun. Cove smiled faintly. It was the first time we ever went down that street together, I think. I miss my balloon. He was a good dolphin for that one afternoon I had him. You couldn't help the way your smile curled up higher at the sentiment. You wanted to say something else but couldn't quite think of what, so just settled back into your seat. When silence filled the car again, you returned your attention to the window. It was an absolutely gorgeous day. You leaned your face to the sunshine, tempted to close your eyes as the gentle rays warmed your cheeks. Cove's pumped out chest, I know, he's 13 years old, but he is big pecs. Wanna rest your head on him, don't you? Joseph? Huh? You lifted yourself up a bit more, seeing your mom twisting her torso to face you. Confused. Oh dear. From the front seat of the car, excuse me. Next to you was nothing. Cove's car door was already open. You had reached the destination before you even realized it. I was asking, what time should I pick you two up? Well, it'll probably take Cove a good 3 hours at least to pound my butt, so... around, 4 should be good. 4 should be okay. That should give you enough time to finish your summer assignments, or at least make a large enough dent. Thanks, Mom. You hopped out of the car, remembering to grab your backpack at the last second. Alright then, have fun you two. Yeah, fun. Your mom snorted, but you couldn't help pouting a little. A beautiful afternoon like this, and you're going to the library to do homework. The two of you went right to the door of the library. Cove reached it first, and tugged it open, stepping inside. He kept it propped open so you could pass through behind him. He better keep the door open for me, he's the man. And I'm the tiny twink man. The air was much cooler inside the building than it had been for the few seconds you spent outdoors. The space was filled with the soft din of papers being moved and whispered voices. Hey, you seem kinda distracted on the ride here. Just enjoying the day now. Nah, wanna walk around for a bit?
What?
Okay, sorry I asked. God, bite my head off. I am distracted, so? Cove looked dangerously close to rolling his eyes. Oh my god, stop. We're meeting Derek, remember? You mean that little tiny boy that looks like he's 8 years old? Your study buddy was standing at the front of the library by a long rack of magazines. Oh my god, there he is! You see, we can't loot him. Predictably, he was flipping through one with various sports players on the cover, looking intense enough to burst off the page. Like, how are we supposed to believe these two are the same age? I don't believe it. His head snapped up and you walked over, beaming widely. God. Did the artist actually expect us to believe this? I can't get over it. You could not expect us to believe that these children are both the same age. Yeah. What voice was I doing for Derek again? I think I was doing, hey Joseph, hey Cove. Hi, were you waiting for a while? Not super long. Derek put the magazine back in its place. Then he gestured to the space at his side. Most of the tables were empty. Only a few people leafing through books. There is plenty of room. In unspoken agreement, the three of you started moving towards the seating area, Derek taking 2 steps for every one of Cove's. Oh, guess what? I'm pretty sure I've mastered the fake shot. I'll show you some other time. Derek looked over to gauge the level of interest. Do you know it? Soccer's not really for me. How does it go? Am I gonna play it one time or try other options with different? I don't know, probably just once. Derek's eyes flashed with excitement as he explained.
Okay.
Well, you move the ball like you're going to go one way, then... He demonstrated by running a few steps ahead, showing off some fancy footwork. You do it like this, so it does it like that. You laughed, bobbing your head as an attempt to get the trick across with no ball. Shush! The three of you looked over to the checkout desk. The librarian stood behind it and was wearing a deep frown. You didn't think it was a big deal. We're gonna make a lot more noise in the bathroom, honey, so you better get ready. You turned away, rolling your eyes. There's practically no one here. Who were you disturbing by being a little loud? Derek scratched his cheek, choosing not to let that derail things.
Oops.
So, what are you guys working on? What weren't you working on? I know, right? You had yet to start a single assignment because you didn't feel like it. You had a few assignments to work on, but you hadn't sat down and decided which to focus on this afternoon or anything. You just grabbed all of them and chucked them into your backpack. You figured you could pick when the time came. I don't know. I'll let fate decide and do whichever I pull out of my bag first. There's some summer reading too. I have to go through an assigned book. But I'm gonna do that later since it doesn't need extra references or anything. What about you two? I've got a few worksheets. They looked pretty easy, but my school gave us 3 books to read. Can't they just stick with one? I'm doing a timeline for history. Did we not all go to the same school? Why do we have such varying summer homework? You all found the table close to the tall bookshelves and set up camp. Am I between the middle of them? Is that what that empty chair is conveying? Or am I on the other side of the table? I guess I'm on the other side of the table. Too bad. Within seconds, pencils and folders and books are strewn out on the surface. Ready for the grand reveal? Without waiting for a response, you closed your eyes, pulled a book from your bag, and put it on the table like a trump card in a poker game. You opened your eyes to find your history book before you. The matter had been settled. Well, me and Cove are doing the same thing. You doodled. You lightly sketched on the paper, your tongue poking out between your lips as you did. You were in the middle of attempting a shark with toothy jaws open wide when you felt someone looking at you. You glanced up, seeing Cove looking over your scribbles. Cove's eyes rose to meet yours.
It's nice.
Are you gonna do the rest at the second dorsal fin? He pointed to a spot on the unfinished shark. Yeah, thanks. You pushed forward with your scribbly creation. After some time, Cove shifted in his seat, twisting his back as if trying to work knots out of it. Cove? More like cave? I don't get it. Cove creased, wiggling in his seat, but his puzzled expression told you that your wordplay had sailed over his head. Derek sniggered at the exchange. Because you're going to cave on doing your homework. What? That was awful. My mistake. You're a comedic genius. I'm gonna stretch my legs.
Talk to you later.
See you. I'm gonna stay here. I'm making good progress. I'll come with you. I'll stretch your legs for you. You might as well take the opportunity to refresh yourself before getting back to work. The two of you strolled away from where you'd been working. Your eyes roamed over the titles of books as you passed by. Some were dull, some were intriguing, and others were just strange, but you didn't spot anything that made you pause and pick it up. Looking for something? The reading assignment is more than enough. No, but something might catch my eye. No. The reading assignment's enough. It's just kind of fun to look at the titles. I might go out of here. If there's enough time. Go out of here and do what? What? His comment reminded you of the clock ticking away. Even after you'd finished your work for the summer, the countdown to the new school year would still be on track. Before you know it, we'll be back at class. Yeah, we just got out and it's almost here again. Are you looking forward to going back? Cove rubbed his arm, drawing your attention to the scar he'd earned as a reckless kid, with his far-off gaze. Not really. I don't want summer to end. I wish everything wasn't already decided for me. I want to grow up already. Cove didn't feel safe knowing it was others who really determined what his life was like. You understood that much. You touched him softly. I want to touch him really roughly. Instinctively, you reached out to him. Your thumb stroked the back of his hand in a way you hoped was comforting. Could my thumb stroke something else? But there's a chance we can end up in the same classes. That would be nice. You nodded, glad that he was cheering up some. Trust Cove to look on the bright side. And maybe if we get seated right next to each other, I can give you a hand under the tables too, right in the middle of class. Wouldn't that be exciting? That'd be great. A smile spread across his face, crinkling his eyes.
So...
What about you? Do you want to go back to school already? No, I don't want summer to end either. It made you depressed just thinking about it. Cove nodded, obviously getting where you were coming from. This is a wholesome game? Honey, look at Cove. He's a little sex pot, okay? Alright. There was really no getting away from the topic of school right now. It prompted you to think back to the classes you were in. You pursed your lips. History class, English, math, science, art. I don't know, dude. I guess history, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's so much out there to learn when it comes to the past. It would take ages to know everything. And that was all. Each lost in your own thoughts, you continued to stroll through the library for a little while until Cove caught your attention again. We should probably head back. Yeah, we don't want him sending a search party. Before you could take a step back, Cove cleared his throat, avoiding your gaze. Thanks for listening before. Anytime. Cove smiled, his cheeks pink. You jerked your head towards where Derek had been left studying. Time to get back to work. Cove and you rejoined with Derek and settled back in as quietly as you could manage. Work continued as normal from there. The sound of shuffling dragged you out of your head. You looked up, surprised to see Derek packing up. You're done? Derek casually shrugged, but you could tell he felt proud to be the first finished. Uh-huh. Told you it wasn't anything hard. Was it even worth going to the library for that? You could have done it at home and saved yourself a trip.
Maybe.
You don't have little baby bros at your house. You're a little baby. And maybe I wanted to see my friends today. Well, Cove is my little F-buddy, okay? Not your friend. Derek leaned on the back of his feet. Okay, I'm gonna look around while you guys finish. See you. Bye.
Bye.
See you. Later on, Cove shifted in his seat, closing his book as he looked over the notes he'd been taking. Glancing away, you contemplated what had been done thus far, too. You had finished most of the assignments. You'd say there was about half left. You still had a long ways to go. It didn't look like you guys got as much done as you had imagined, but you could stop without feeling guilty about it. Are you about ready? It's almost 4. Yeah, I think so. Come on. The both of you gathered up your books, and after returning the ones you'd used for reference to their proper shelves, set off to find wherever Derek had wandered off to. He was in the biography section. His back was to the two of you, one hand above his head and the other supporting himself against the shelf as he strained to grab one of the books. Hey Derek, we're ready.
Okay.
He glanced towards the sound of your voice, then up towards the shelf he was trying to reach. You followed his gaze and then took the book off the shelf for him. Yeah. Sorry, little bro. You just seemed a little bit short there, Squirt. Wanted to help you out there. You held out the book for him. He just stared up at you, speechless. Don't start blushing at me now, okay? I'm with Cove. Until he eventually accepted the book from your hand and squeaked out a small reply with flushed cheeks. Thanks. Bruh. I literally have Cove's cum leaking from my you-know-what. And then the three of you moved to the front of the library to wait for your rides. You stood close to the window and let out a content sigh, feeling the rays warm you from the slightly chilly library interior. Got any plans after this? Gonna work on my technique. Can't get rusty while school's out. That answer was inevitable. Technique for what? Football, how about you? The words you two echoed in your mind. You knew what Derek meant, but why was it bringing a smile to your face to be linked with Cove, even in the most tenuous circumstance? Nothing planned. Me neither. Oh, that's my dad's car. Derek lifted a hand to wave, pushing the door open and heading towards the blue pickup truck waiting in the parking lot.
Talk to you later.
See ya. Bye, Cove. Bye, Joseph. You watched Derek jog off before scanning the area for your mom. Did you get everything done? Almost. I'll get it done. We both will, right? He smiled, understanding. Right. I feel like I'll need to come back to the library again before summer's over. I'll come with you. I still have the books to read anyway. You better. I'm not going alone. He chuckled. Let's do something when we get back. Maybe the beach? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He was always easy to please that way. The two of you smiled at each other. Cove looked away after a second, and so did you, fidgeting with the hem of your shirt. It wasn't long before you spied your mom's car coming down the road. There she is.
All right.
Time to go then. You climbed into the car, sliding into your usual seats and buckling the belts. Hey kiddos, did you get a lot done? Mom's squinting at you, but you purposely didn't catch her eye. The car shifted into action and you watched as the library shrunk into the distance. It wouldn't be the last time you saw it this summer, but at least you knew you were gonna have company. You chatted easily with Mom about the day while you juggled a conversation with Cove. When she learned you two were planning on returning, she immediately offered to give you a ride next time. You continued to answer Mom's questions about what you've been working on, then told her about your plans to stick with Cove after getting back. There was something knowing in her smile that made you pause, just for a moment. What do you know, Mom? Of course you know. I literally told you he was gonna do me in the bathroom. But soon enough the trip was over. You had arrived back to your neighborhood. Cove had run over to his house real quick to drop off his stuff. You also made a pit stop to put your backpack away before heading out again. The two of you regrouped in the middle of the road, halfway between your houses. With everything wrapped up, you could now freely enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Your conversation resumed as you both began walking down the streets together. The afternoon came and went. Dinner was eaten and you were cleaning up the dishes left behind from it. Cove had elected to stay for the meal today. He passed you a couple plates to rinse in the sink, even though he didn't have to. Cove asked to do at least something to help. You scrubbed the last of them and let out a satisfied sigh. You pictured Derek on the same football team as someone Cove size and getting run over? Oh my god, he'd be dead. Ugh. Okay, they're done. I'm going upstairs now. You addressed your guests for the evening. You want to come?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to get back till later. Okay, we're going upstairs together and I'm closing the door and I'm locking it. Don't come in. Take it easy, kids. Thank you for the help. Make sure you leave the door a crack open. Mom. When you got back to your room, you noticed the backpack from earlier. You figured it'd be best to unpack the stuff you needed before going to bed. Cove plopped into your desk chair and it spun around a bit as he got comfortable. He watched you contentedly as you walked across the room. He didn't need or expect you to try entertaining him constantly. It was just nice to be near each other, even when nothing was going on. How do I get that comfortable with someone? Because I don't have anyone to be like that with. You hefted your bag up onto the bed. It sunk into the comforter. With that, you started to sort through books and paper packets. Not all of it were things you need anytime soon. A small pile of the most important assets began to grow at the side of your backpack until you'd gone over it all. Huh? You had actually finished flipping through the contents, but that wasn't all of your work. You instinctively pulled the opening closer to you and peered inside. A second look through commenced, and then a third. And then you began to open the smaller packets. Oh, Isaac. Oh, Isaac. You were missing your history assignment. What? Bruh. Joseph. By this point, Cove could tell something was wrong. You had spent the better part of today making progress on it, and now it was gone. It hadn't been that noteworthy before, but the bag wasn't really zipped when you had first begun to look through. The work could have fallen out somewhere if you had it in the first place. Stay calm. You caught the problem early. There was still time to make it right. You couldn't lose your head. My history work isn't in my backpack. What's up with the sentimental music? At your word, Cove jumped out of his seat.
No way!
Oh crap, is there somewhere we can look? Well, you can pull down your pants and let me check your ass. The bag was kinda open, so... He winced sympathetically. That left a lot of options for where it might be, most of them bad. You resolved to check the spot the backpack was originally left in. it couldn't hurt to look. With nothing in sight, you expanded the search to the rest of the space. I mean, bruh, it's probably just at the library or like in your mom's car or in your house. You've literally been nowhere else. Cove did his best to stay out of your way while keeping an eye open for your missing work. It was a fruitless effort. Your assignment wasn't there. Let's check downstairs. It might still be in your house someplace. Fine.
How are you?
Why, hello again. Is everything alright? Told your mom. You gave a rambly explanation. No, it was. I had it. I did it. But when I was getting it out, it wasn't there, and I don't know.
What?
My schoolwork is missing. That was definitely getting to you. You have things that you want to do and that you need to do, and instead you have to worry about this.
I am so sorry.
Sweetie, I'm so sorry. What's missing? An assignment for school from the library today. The mentioning of losing assignments gives you flashbacks. Mom's eyebrow raised with concern at the answer. That's a pickle. I'll call right now. I think they might still be open. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Just leave it to me. Come, honey. Can you tell us if there was anything you noticed? You were with Joseph, right? I saw the assignment when Joseph had it out the library. I don't remember them. I'm a he. I'm a he, Cove. Please. You're misgendering me. I don't remember them putting it away, but I'm pretty positive there was nothing left on the table when we were done. He spoke resolutely. Before now, he hadn't considered that something might have been left behind. You had felt the same when leaving, though it was hard not to second-guess things now. Your mom re-entered the scene a few minutes later. The look on her face was not promising.
Well...
So, I got a hold of one of the librarians. They don't have any papers with your name on them. Not that they could see anyway. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sweetie.
Aw, honey. We'll figure this out. Okay. I mean, usually he looks so big, but it's funny because the moms are just there and they are definitely taller than him. So now he just kind of does look short. Joseph, hey, let's go over to my house. I can check my bag. Maybe I took it when we were packing up and didn't notice. Alright. Things were getting heavy here with your mom's worrying. Maybe he needed to get away from it, or maybe he thought you needed a chance to get away from it. Let's go. Cove nodded and made his way to the door. Your mom stood by with creased brows. Take care, kids. Good luck. Bye, moms. I'm gonna trade spit with Cove. You briskly made the trip across the street in less than a minute. You were going through the threshold of Cove's house. I've never been in here before until now. Cove had been in a rush earlier today, too. His backpack was tossed on the couch without a thought. No one had moved it since then. You can sit down or anything. I'm gonna look. He lifted up the backpack and unzipped it in a fluid motion. You were left to wait as he rooted around inside with an unexpected level of seriousness. The moms are beautiful Amazon queens, of course they're taller. Oh my god. You accepted his offer of hospitality and took it easy. It wasn't possible to stop Cove in his quest, so you tried to relax in the meantime. Eventually he sighed heavily. Cove's arm was still tucked away inside, but the search was over.
Sorry.
It was obvious there wasn't much of a chance Cove somehow had it this whole time. You just shrugged. That's alright. He dropped the backpack to the floor unceremoniously and spoke with a cautious tone.
Are you okay?
Is it? You're really okay? It's not like I forgot what I did. It's kind of annoying to have to write it a second time, but it won't be hard. Thanks for worrying about me. That's cool. I'm glad. Can you, like, at least finger me or something? Cove laughed lightly and you noticed a small shake to it. He was clearly relieved you were going to get through this. It was sweet. He had been more upset about the loss than you. Cove grew taller when he got in his house. I think it's admirable. How can you keep it together like that? You were flattered he thought so. Oh. Cove was someone you were close with, that's true. But you hadn't expected him to say you were admirable. It was nice. Then the moment was interrupted by the piercing ring of Holden's home phone. You wordlessly stared at one another with raised brows. Ko's mouth formed a tiny frown. Kyra appeared from the hall. Who's Kyra? On the far side of the living room, summoned by the noise. Oh, that's her mom. Hey, Cove. Hi, Joseph. I didn't know you were here. She strolled on past. Your eyes followed her. Ko's mom answered the call, giving a chipper greeting to whoever was on the other end. A few ahas and hms later, Kyra thanked the person and placed the phone down once more. Joseph, that was your ma. She said your stuff was in the car.
What?
Really? That's what I was told. Now I'll just return to the guest room. You can have your privacy. Ko's face cycled from the shock to sour as his mom made her escape laughing. He shook the interruption off and refocused on you. They've got it. As you guessed, this wasn't going to be a big deal. They've got it. Ko smiled crookedly and shrugged one shoulder. We should probably head to your house. Your moms might want to talk to you. Yeah, my parents really care about me. They had kept searching even after you left, and because of that, it all worked out. Cove nodded in agreement. Hey, Cove, thanks for being here. He brightened up with sparkling eyes.
Don't worry about it.
Anytime, Joseph. While stepping towards the door together, there was a thought in your head that you knew to be true. You were going to be there for one another, with the small things and when it came to the big things. Oh, he already has a big thing in his pants that we need to be together for. Alright. Road trip? Only if Cove's there. Even though you were awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon, and the sky above was still dark, though lightening by the minute. Usually you wouldn't be up so early, especially during summer vacation, but today was different. Today, instead of the lazy days you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity, as both your family and Ko's prepared for what lay ahead. Because parked in the street just outside your house was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Ko's house behind it. So are we both all going in the same RV? Okay, that's cool. Can Cove and I sleep in the same bed? His parents had rented the RV a few days ago to take him on a short road trip to see Redwood National Park. You glanced at Cove, who was standing nearby, taking in the scene in front of him. The prospect of the trip had to be a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed he was dealing with it as best he could. Especially now that you and your family were joining him. You weren't sure exactly how it had happened. You knew your parents and Ko spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way plans were made after Cliff offered to share the space. The parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. You had already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in, and you had to admit that while it was a really big car, fitting that many people inside it was going to be snug. Good, we better be sharing the same bed.
Let's go.
Move it or lose it, kiddo. Mom bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water under the other. She was upbeat for this early in the morning. Oh, look at this beauty. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed behind her wife, dragging her feet on every step. I'm going to need a whole jug of coffee once we hit the road. You could relate to Ma, it was way too early. You yawned and rubbed at your eyes, still sleepy from the early morning wake-up call. The air outside was still damp from the dew, and that helped make you a bit more alert. Ugh. And then at the end of the chain came your sister. She had a bone to pick before the trip officially started. Her rattling off critiques added some level of normalcy to everything new going on.
Ugh.
I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Joseph is the youngest, and I'll never fall asleep in that loft. We're trying to make things fair on everyone. If you want to play the older card, you should be offering to take the loft both nights. It's important for big siblings to make sacrifices for their younger ones. Elizabeth huffed, not happy with that answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning back against the side of the RV. The trip plans had been nailed down prior, the sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth held on to her objections with them. There was a mania of the RV with a couch, loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed. Kyra was on the couch, and Kyra was on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. Why can't I sleep on the floor with him, or why can't he sleep on the loft with me? The adults determined that you and Elizabeth would switch between the small loft above the driver's seat and sharing the beds with moms. Great. Let's see, is there an option that I can be like, I wish I'd slept on the floor? You thought it was unfair? Yeah, it's unfair Kove has to sleep on the floor. Can I sleep with him? After all, it was supposed to be a trip for him and his family, before yours ended up coming along too. Now he had been kicked out of every bed-like space and put up on the floor. What? Ma had the natural response? If we didn't know Mom was a serial killer, the fact that she was a morning person would give it away? Oh my god. There had to be another way to organize things so that it was better for him. You offered to sleep somewhere else. You suggested sharing the loft with Cove. Share the loft with Cove. Share the loft with Cove. Mom's gonna be like, sorry, sweetie, we know that you're a horny little rat. Cove and I could share the loft when I'm up there. I don't mind making room for him. You took a glance over at Cove, but noticed that he wouldn't meet your eye in return. Bruh, come on. He wasn't able to say anything in response to the suggestion either. Cove, why?
No.
No, that loft is too tiny for two people, even if those people are teens. Mom, I promise I won't get a boner in the middle of the night and press it into Cove's butt cheeks and spread them apart and spit on his hole and slide inside of him. I promise I won't do that. The last thing we need is one of you rolling off and crushing poor Cliff beneath you. Who will take over his driving shifts? The three other parents all laughed at your mom's joke. You finally caught Cove's eye and he gave you a tiny smile before shrugging. With a sigh, you had to admit defeat. Alright, you lot. Does everyone have what they need? We're heading out in 5 minutes. Now's the time to double check. You don't want to forget something important. At the word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back into the house, her bedhead hair bouncing behind her as she went. Ma came over and gave you a smile, setting her hands on her hips. How about you, Joseph? Do you have all your clothes packed? Toiletries, deodorant, floss, anything else you can think of? Your confidence. You gave her a flat look? What does that even mean? You weren't 8 years old anymore, you were 13, and more than capable of remembering what you had to bring on a trip. I got my condoms, Mom. Calm down. Alright, I like to fuss. Ma laughed softly and ruffled your hair before she walked off. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over what you had packed for the trip. Clothes, a pillow, blanket, usual day-to-day gear for most people. You also had more personal things, such as... we took our PSP from 2008. The drive to Redwood National Park would take an entire day one way. So you wanted to make sure you had a way to entertain yourself while traveling there and back. And we also have... bag of makeup? No, sis, we're no femme. Favorite stuffed animal? Girl? Couple things to read. MP3 player. I don't know what year it is, but apparently we need an MP3 player. With so much time going to be spent driving in a car, you wanted to make sure you'd be able to have some music to put on. And that was everything. Hey, let me take that for you, Joseph. I'll stow it in the RV. There's a few spots left, it'll fit. You let Kyra take your bag and gave her a grateful smile. With nothing left to do, you watched the others getting ready for the trip. Kyra and Cliff seemed to have the most energy out of anyone. They were finishing packing up the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartments of the vehicle. Even though your own parents were more low-key than Cove's, you could tell they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been away anywhere together. Elizabeth skipped towards the RV, a bag slung over her shoulder, and you were surprised to see she seemed more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually she wasn't one to exit the confines of her room unless it was for TV or food or to leave the family behind to be with friends. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 others would be too much for her, but it was a nice surprise. You supposed any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. They don't have cell phones. COVID had been pretty quiet so far, and more than anything seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. You were eager to get to the destination. Yeah. You'd been looking up the park online and couldn't wait to explore everything it had to offer. Soon the miscellaneous remaining tasks had all been wrapped up. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. And it did. Cove took the first shift driving. He cautiously navigated the massive car out of the narrow neighborhood streets. It was touch and go for the first part of the journey. Your moms and Kyra were all huddled together at the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit, and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. The mom group cleared out the driver's area. I was like, there are 3 moms here. Leaving Cove's dad to it, taking more comfortable seats around the main cabin. You felt like you'd finally relax now too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Before you realized it, the engine of the RV came to a stop, but only halted for a few moments as Cliff climbed out of the driver's seat and Mom took over. Mom was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial on the controls, as it was her first time driving anything this large. And if this is her first time, should she really be doing it? I don't think it's easy to control. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of you, stretching his arms above his head and loosening up his muscles. Oh my, hello there. Hello there. L'Oreal, because you're worth it. We're making good progress. Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you just did, and I know you're on less sleep than usual. Cliff waved a hand, that trademark grin of his slipping into place.
Nah.
I don't need sleep. I've still got a few miles in the old tank. He flexed an arm, showing off his muscles to drive the point about how resilient he was at home. And Kyra rolled her eyes in amusement. Dad, everybody has to sleep. Ko shook his head at the tough guy act, though Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair.
So?
Are you going to be driving again anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I want to know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There are no seatbelts up here. Elizabeth called down from where she was lounging in the loft above the driving compartment. She was lying on her back, her hair falling over the side and swinging around as the RV started up again and took off down the road. A bag of potato chips was balanced on Elizabeth's stomach, and she tossed a couple into her mouth right as Cliff held a hand to her chest, pretending to be offended by the remark. Kyra laughed lightheartedly.
Don't worry about that.
Lucky for all of us, we have enough adults to cover the shifts today. He won't be driving again until tomorrow. We shouldn't gang up on the poor guy. Or rather, yeah, it's not his driving I'm worried about. Let's not forget how many times Mom has put a dent in our car. It was only twice, and neither of those times was my fault, thank you very much. Mom then shouted back in her seat to join in the conversation, a playful smile tilting her lips. What I'm more worried about is this old monster getting us there and back again before falling apart. It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. It must be older than some of the occupants. That's just the aesthetic of the decor. It's not that old, I think. Did you ask what year the model? Wait, did you ask what year the model was before you rented it? Kyra wrinkled her nose in thought.
Hey!
Yes, I did. I just can't remember what the answer was. Cliff chuckled at her while the rest of you let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed, and you held onto the ladder to the loft to keep your balance. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on your yellow hair. When you tilted your chin up carefully to look, you heard the rustling of the bag of chips and realized Elizabeth had rested the end of it on your head. She gestured to the opening, slightly offering to share her snack. You took a handful. Reaching up, you scooped up some chips. After that, the weight of the packet left your scalp. You happily munched away as the conversation continued on, and you got closer and closer to your destination. The day flew by with a group of you chatting, playing games, and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Ma was closing the windows while everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way back to the back room. You all had dinner together while still driving, and some hours after had arrived at your destination. Wait, did I just go backwards in time? Giving a look across the front of the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off where they were, with Cove having completely fallen asleep curled up in the passenger seat. Oh my god, I want to kiss him while he's sleeping. He must have done so while Kyra was driving. During driving the last leg, they had decided not to disturb him. Kyra herself was the only one up there who was still awake, flipping through a magazine next to a portable light from her spot on the couch. It seemed Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. You followed your moms into the back room and closed the door behind you before crawling onto the bed between them. It was a queen-size bed, so there was enough space for the three of you together without too much squishing.
Good night.
Get a good rest, Joseph. We got a big day ahead of us tomorrow.
That's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to the bushwalk in the morning. It's been a long time since I was out in nature like this. There will be plenty for us to see. You stayed awake for a little while longer while your moms whispered about the park and forest in general. With the sound of their voices in the background, eventually you nodded off to sleep. The next morning, you were up bright and early, preparing for the day ahead. You had an okay sleep. It was nothing compared to your bed at home, but at least you didn't have to sleep on the floor, so you couldn't complain too much. Ma whined a bit about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom only had encouraged her to enjoy the trip while she could. While looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding a space of your own as the others were doing the same thing. Cove was perched on the top of the counter, brushing his hair, tucking up his legs every time someone wanted to move past. The parents were double checking and triple checking that you had everything to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. You knew you wouldn't be returning to the RV all that day, but by the look of the backpacks that were packed up and ready to go, you doubted anything was missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV in a bustle and headed into Redwood National Park.
Wow.
Cove had his head tilted towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide as he took the massive trunks on either side of you. You knew that the redwood trees here were considered the tallest trees on Earth, but you weren't prepared for exactly how huge they would be in person.
Come on.
Smile, you two. You spun just in time for Kyra to snap a picture of you and Cove together before she pointed her camera at Cliff, trying to get a shot despite his weak protests that she should just enjoy the moment. Your parents were walking behind the group a little, with Mom telling Ma some information she had read about the park in a brochure. Ma listened happily while looking around and taking in the sights, every now and then asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. You smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of pamphlets to know so much about the park. Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide if you know so much about the place. Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but you thought that might just be because she was amused by everyone else's reactions. You were in a state of awe. You were in a good mood. The air was fresh and clean, and it was nice to be outdoors with the people you loved most. You were certain that this was only the beginning of what would be a great day. The adults had decided on some casual nature walks rather than any serious hiking, and you strolled along at your own pace, taking in the scenery. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she fell into place between the two of you, and immediately you could tell by her expression she was gonna say something taunting.
Ah.
I can't believe our families are actually on vacation together. She threw her arms out, speaking with a genuine sense of bewilderment. I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not sure I want to give them any more ideas. Cove smiled at her, even if it was a little awkwardly, and continued walking along. Okay, well, I'm really happy we're vacationing together with them, Elizabeth, so no one asked you. Just watch, next year they'll be talking about their next new amazing idea. Oh my god, Elizabeth, you're terrible. She put on her fake voice, deeper than her own. You're just mad that you can't sleep with Cove. We should just sell both our houses and move in together. Think of how much we'd save on the mortgage. Oh my god, Elizabeth, are you actually suggesting something good for once? And Cove and me can sleep in the same room, same bed? It was clear that Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove simply shook his head, not really bothered by her. You suppose he was used to her by this point. But seriously, they really do act like we're a single family, just because we live across the street from each other. No, Elizabeth, they act like we're a family because I'm sleeping with Cove. Because we are a family. They're my in-laws. Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glinting with mischief as she leered at you.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we will be related. Legally, anyway. Well, we're already related, so it's like, whatever. She said it as though she was a gossipy old lady. But she almost immediately dropped the tone and nonchalantly said her real thoughts. At least, that's what Ma thinks. Cove still blushed, which made Elizabeth smile triumphantly, as though that was her whole purpose for teasing him. Then he mumbled quietly, refusing to make eye contact with either of you. I don't know why you think you're so funny when no one else does. Ooh, burn. Cove has a point. It wasn't a great comment. I'll marry you, Cove. That would be fitting after all, considering what you thought about when you first met him. He looked at you in disbelief. He genuinely could not believe this is where the conversation had gone. I expect you to give me an answer sooner or later. Cove frowned and reddened harder, but pretended to ignore what you were saying. Your sister noticed what was happening. Oh, he isn't going to engage with this topic. He groaned at the continued teasing and increased the speed of his walk. Cove, no, come back here and marry me. You've already loaded me up. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. You passed a few different activities that you would have liked to try out if you had time, such as kayaking and rock climbing. But Ma said that would have to wait for another trip. What? We can't even... We're gonna come all the way out here and you won't even let me kayak or rock climb? Dude. Why do we have to walk around the redwoods? Can't I just do the fun stuff? There was a little stream during the walk that you sat beside and set out a picnic for lunch, nibbling on a selection of fruit, sandwiches, and chips. Various birds flew by overhead, and you made a game out of guessing the species that were hanging out in the trees nearby. You even managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher that grabbed half of Cliff's sandwich. You were glad you got to do this in the end. You were disappointed to have only a day in the park. I guess. Why did we even come out here for just one day? Why wouldn't we stay longer? We have an RV. We can sleep in the RV, I don't get it. Why are we here for? Like no time at all. Weird. There was so much here and you felt like you needed a whole week, maybe even more to experience it all. You signed quietly to yourself, wondering if you'd get the chance to come back. Your group had made it back to camp just as sun was setting in the sky and the stars were appearing one by one. Everyone had enjoyed different parts of it most. You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner. Then afterwards you pitched in to help clean up. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, got to head back to the RV early and spend some time together while your parents stayed out a little longer. Where's Cove? Oh wait, Cove is here. It was nice to have space to yourselves after the cramped journey there. And while Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. You hung out with Cove, obviously. Well, let's take a load off. We've got some time. Or should I say, let's take a load inside of you, Cove. Oh, look at his cutie little jacket. You took a seat on the sofa while Cove sat down on the other end, tapping his fingers against his knees. Your cheeks warmed up a little at that. Being close to him never failed to feel exciting. You'd seen Cove nearly every day for the past 5 years, but seeing him in a jacket was still somewhat unusual. In Southern California, he could get away with that. It was a simple difference from his normal style, yet you couldn't help noticing the way he looked right now. It was great on him. In fact, Cove always looked nice. When Cove cleared his throat, your eyes snapped to his. He had an eyebrow raised and clearly caught you staring at him.
What?
Is everything okay? What, I can't stare at you? You just look so good right now. Cove immediately blushed at the unexpected compliment. What? He didn't say anything more until that one-word question. You decided to elaborate further. You know, I hardly ever see you wearing a jacket, especially in summer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like wearing as few layers as possible. It's easier that way. I know, I usually prefer it when you wear as little as possible too. I'd rather be cold than extra hot, and it's kind of a pain to carry extra clothes around. My parents made me bring this jacket. I'm the same way. Yeah, I'm the same way as you, Cove. They're bulky and heavy, and they usually make me feel too warm. Cove smiled lightly at you and nodded. I've noticed. You perked up hearing that. He noticed you too? Did he notice how stiff your pants were right now? You asked him what he liked to see others wear. What do you want me to wear for you, Cove? So what type of clothes or accessories do you like to see on somebody else other than you? Cove's eyes widened at the question, and his defensive reply seemed to slip out before he had the chance to have a proper think about it. Nothing. Okay, I'll strip down right now. That was funny. A snort of laughter escaped you, and even though Cove's face flushed red, you could see the hint of a smile upon his lips still.
Come on.
You think Cove would be used to your endless thirst by now? No, he's a little... Oh, he's too innocent. Come on, that's not what I meant. Oops. Oh, what did I do? You composed yourself and sat up straighter, all traces of laughter disappearing from your face. Answer with what you do mean then. Isn't there anything at all you think looks good when you see it on someone? Cove mumbled under his breath, and you couldn't quite catch the words. He was having a difficult time with the subject. I swear I won't make fun of you? That's not really it. Cove seemed pretty grumpy about your statement, but you weren't ready to give up so easily. Please? Cove sighed and looked down at his lap where he was fidgeting with his hands, still reluctant to give an answer.
I don't know.
Oh my god. You little bee. You made an unimpressed sound over how this was going. Are you sure? Fine, I guess I kind of like ankle bracelets. Ankle bracelets? That's... God, really? I know I said I wouldn't say anything, but damn. Ugly. Yeah, everyone can wear a pretty bracelet. Wrist ones are cool too, but they're pretty normal. There's something fun or flirty about ankle bracelets.
I mean...
It's more special or something. I don't know how to explain it. Alright, I'll go buy a stupid ankle bracelet to wear for you. Cove brushed his knuckles against his cheek awkwardly, seeming unsure to where to go from there. Huh, out of everything in the out of everything in the world, you picked that. So you think they're sexy?
What?
What? No, I can't believe you'd even use that word to describe it. Cove had been absolutely scandalized by your statement, and you could only laugh. When he said nothing else, you took a moment to gather your own thoughts. You had to get an anklet on ASAP. You needed to see how Cove would react to that. Cove looked away again, feeling awkward about this. You gave him an understanding look, and usually he would start to smile like normal again, but not this time. His expression only stiffened more. You were surprised to see him like this, as he always bounced back pretty quickly after being flustered. Cove? Still, he wouldn't look at you, and now even his breathing was growing tense. It had began to click that he was trying to build himself up enough to say something hard for him. You waited for it silently, until finally he peeked your way through the corner of his eyes. You were fully attentive by this point for whatever he was going to mention next.
That's,
People having green eyes. That's also something I like. I have green eyes, Cove? Huh? For a moment you were stunned and at a complete loss for words. That was definitely not where you imagined this was going. Cove faced you head on, his expression full of desperate meaning. You got the distinct impression he hadn't chosen that just because he liked the color green. He chose it entirely because it was your eye color. Was he trying to flirt with you? That was all you could think of. Your legs felt like jelly and you wondered if you might fall right off the couch or fall right into his lap, into his crotch. What do you like for another person, Joseph? You. I like you. Everything about you. Cove went still, his eyes widening in surprise. It was definitely a lot for him to hear, but you couldn't help yourself. It was the truth. You adored him. And now you are both flirting with each other. Oh, he placed his hands on his lap and looked down. It seemed he hadn't expected to get this far, and didn't know where to go from there. With that topic abruptly dropped off, Cove officially had nothing more to say on it. Kiss me? The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV and finding some place to sit down and rest their legs. Elizabeth, having heard the commotion, came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. You spent the evening chatting and playing a few games, enjoying the last evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived within the blink of an eye as the group hunkered down for the night. Your mom did a final round to be sure nothing had been left behind. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning, like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Now is the time for you to check that you hadn't left anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident you had it all packed up inside the RV, which meant it was time to get some rest before the journey to head home tomorrow. Your moms and Elizabeth said goodnight, heading to the back room while you climbed up to the loft. Cove and his family got situated below in the previously set arrangement. You tried to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your minds. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you'd be back in your own bed at home. You enjoyed the mini adventure. It was short, and that was for sure, but you got to see and do so much during your time here. All in all, it was a nice break away from home. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Cliff and Kyra to drift up to you. They were asleep now. You wondered if Cove was still awake and decided to poke your head out from the loft to find out. You blinked through the dark. Looking down the hall, you noticed that Cove was lying on his back, his eyes staring straight up at the ceiling. His seafoam hair was spread out on his sleeping bag. He must have felt you watching him because suddenly his eyes locked on yours. It was difficult to see much in the dim light, but you could make out the crooked smile on his face well enough. You made a silly face. Cove rolled his eyes at you, or at least you thought he did. You gestured for him to come over. Come hither, Cove. In the darkness of the night, no one will see us playing. Cove looked unsure about it, but you were happy to see him slowly start to sit up anyway. His sleeping bag rustled as he moved, though he tried to go slow and froze up like a deer in headlights every time he made a sound, watching his parents for any sign of movement. Eventually he managed to maneuver his sleeping dad and make it to the ladder, standing on the bottom rung when he looked up at you and whispered, "What?" You invited him up to the loft. Do you want to come up? His eyes widened just so. You could only tell because he had come to where you were. Cove glanced behind him quickly at his sleeping parents before turning back to you. Okay. You broke out into a grin and scooched back as far as you could, making space for Cove to crawl in. He was very tall, so it wasn't a great fit for him, but he managed to squeeze himself in. Just so you know, I have morning wood, but it's not even morning yet. Okay, then I just have wood. God. Even if you weren't exactly tall, the loft was still a tight squeeze with the two of you in there together. Cove. You lay down next to each other on your sides, face to face. He got under the blanket a bit. One of his arms was nestled under his head for comfort. The other had nowhere to go and rested alongside his chest on the floor of the loft. Cove spoke to you softly. So, what am I doing here? You know exactly what we're doing here. I thought we could hang out. Cove's eyebrows dipped. He probably thought you had something more important than that going on. I'm not sure about this. Cove swallowed loudly, and you noticed he wouldn't look you in the eyes anymore. Cove swallowed loudly, and you noticed he wouldn't look you in the eyes anymore. You were feeling nervous too. You felt comfortable being so close to him. His reaction made you happy. Made me happy. It's not that cold, Kuro. It's very cold. It was nice to know that this didn't seem like nothing to him. You wanted him to take you seriously. You thought back to earlier in the evening when you and Cove had been talking alone on the sofa. He had definitely been flirting then. And now you were here, I know. He moves so fast. First we were just flirting on the sofa, and now he's joined me in bed. Oh God, Cove, you little, I don't even know what to call him. You little hoe. You lied there silently. You tried to ease things with the conversation. You nudged closer to him. I'll nudge closer to him, definitely. You inch towards Cove slowly, your legs pressing together in the very limited space. Ooh, and what's between my legs that's pressing into him? Ooh, because there's something. There's something there. Cove's face flushed dark enough to notice, even in the pitch-black RV cabin. The hand resting in front of him tightened, balling into a fist. Are you okay? You seem tense.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I mean, I'm not dying or anything. Cove's eyebrows bent up nervously, but his smile widened. Oh, what a precious boy. He followed your lead and curled himself deeper into the loft and closer to you. He looked away as he did it. There was almost no space left between he and you. Cove's breath tickled the side of your face. For a moment, you stayed together like that. I can't wait for my mom to walk in and be like, "No, you need to sleep in separate beds." Neither of you spoke a word. When your eyes looked again, Cove seemed almost taken aback by the situation, as though it hadn't completely hit him what it was going to feel like to do this until just now. He opened his mouth to say something, but shut it tight before anything came out. You went to sleep. Wait, you went to sleep how you were, you moved back, you snuggled against him. Oh my god, I want to kiss him. You moved in even closer, eyes half closed as your lips inched towards his so slowly. Cove froze immediately. You could feel his body trembling against you as you neared. You grew close enough to be one motion away from placing your lips together. Then all at once, he bolted upright, completely forgetting the restrictions of the location and smacking his head against the roof of the RV with a loud crack, making you gasp aloud. Ow! Cove, are you okay? Cove didn't answer. He fell back to the loft floor in a flustered pile. He pressed one hand against his head and the other over his face as he groaned in pain. The sound of movements in the RV below startled you, and when you looked over the side, you noticed Cliff had similarly shot up and was looking around wildly.
What's wrong?
Wake up, people! Something's happened! My Cove has just become a man! He's got his first kiss! Cliff reached over to where Kyra was on the couch and she whined as he shook her out of a deep sleep enough not to be interrupted by the chaos. What's going on? And then the lights came on and you scrambled under the blanket to avoid being seen, but it was too late.
What?
Cove, where are you? Joseph, are you... Oh! It only took a second for Kyra to figure out where her son had gone, and soon you heard Cliff's chuckle as he soon realized too. You were warned there wasn't much room up there, bud. Oh, there was plenty of room, sis. Actually, you know what? There was just enough room for me and Cove, but there wasn't enough room for the love between us. And so we got, like, pushed out of the bed. Cove groaned terribly again, but this time it was out of humiliation. He moved the hand from his sore scalp to also cover his shame rather than face his parents.
Hey!
Oh my god, who asked Elizabeth? Like, you do not speak unless someone has specifically asked you to, please. What's with all the noise out here? God, I hate her. To your horror, the door at the back of the RV opened, and Elizabeth, as well as your moms, peeked their heads out into the hall. Is everything okay?
Sorry.
It's nothing. Sorry for waking you up. Cove curled into himself, completely humiliated as he apologized a couple more times. Not loud enough for anyone other than you to hear, though. You tried to check on him? No, I'm laughing. You laughed out loud. There's no point in trying to be quiet now. I think they're waiting for an encore. Cove peeked out from behind the green hair that had fallen to his eyes and whimpered. Kyra casually came on over to the edge of the loft. She patted her son on the back. Come to Mama, baby. You can't stay there. There was no putting it off. Cove climbed down the ladder, his face still red as a tomato when he reached the bottom. His dad gave him a nudge on the shoulder as he passed, trying to hold back renewed laughter, and his mom pulled him over to give his head a quick look over. After announcing it wasn't anything more serious than a bump, Cove shuffled over to his sleeping bag on the ground. He collapsed into it, not caring if he should be more cautious with his head right now.
Sure.
Alright, show's over. Let's get some sleep. You could hear the snickers from the back of the RV from your moms and Elizabeth. They really had been watching this unfold like it was a piece of entertainment. But at that, they quickly said goodnight and headed to bed. Yeah, right, entertainment. They were hollering and cackling at me, calling me a Jezebel. With nothing more you could do, you laid back down as the lights went off again. You stayed there completely still until sleep finally overtook you. When you woke up the next morning, it was to the rumble of the RV as it traveled a long journey home. Blinking the sleep from your eyes, you peeked over the edge of the loft, slowly, trying not to be seen. Cove was sitting on the couch with his mom, the two of them talking quietly together. His head was hung low. You blushed and you remembered what it was like last night, just the two of you up in the loft together, and the way you almost kissed. Your ex made you earn your first kiss with her? Ew. Kyra suddenly looked up and caught your eye, and your face grew even hotter, though she simply smiled at you. You knew it was going to be a long, long time before either of you lived this down, if you ever did. Soon your moms and Elizabeth emerged from their room, dressed and ready for the day of travel. You spent most of the day hanging out together in the RV, savoring the last few hours of vacation. Kyra suggested a few different travel games she used to play with Cove when he was younger, and you all had a great time competing against each other. A little later in the day, you tried to talk to Cove about what happened in the loft, but he simply apologized and changed the subject. So you don't want to talk about the massive boner we both had? Okay, fine, I guess. It was a bit too much for him to try speaking on, especially right now. You understood. I don't understand. When the RV finally pulled onto your street, it was well into the night, and you were looking forward to crawling into your own bed after the last few days away. Everyone else must have been feeling the same, because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV would wait until morning. Once home again, you went straight up to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. You were happy to be in your own bed, it felt weird to be alone, it felt good to be alone. You wished you were still on the trip. You missed being near Cove. The two of you had basically been living together for 3 days. It was nice. But you knew that it wouldn't be the last time the two of you would spend time together, and that thought comforted you. With those last few thoughts drifting through your mind, it wasn't long before you dozed off to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go on like normal. Alright, well that was a fun moment.